We had a patient come in with hand, foot, and mouth disease the other day, and they were curious what they could do as a parent at home with the child. What is good? Should they bring them in for acupuncture? Are there any herbs that we could professionally prescribe? What are your thoughts on hand, foot, and mouth disease in children? And could you also like expand a little bit? I've seen it a little in practice, but I'm sure you've seen it way more than I have.
Right. So there's a lot to say about it, but generally speaking, when in Chinese medicine we believe, or it is a common idea that when a patient is sick, that is the most important time to treat it, especially early on the disease. So the earlier you can get into treatment, the better. So as opposed to the Western idea of just let's wait and see, or just rest or stay home, our concept is when you feel like something is starting, that's the best time to treat. And so I always tell my patients and the parents of my patients that at the first signs you need to consider treatment, whether it's a simple taking a little more vitamin C or some herbs, or coming in for acupuncture and getting herbs that would support the process and prevent the development of the illness into a deeper area of the body. So
as a parent, I'm just going to interject for a second. You mentioned at the first signs and symptoms that the parents see. What a lot of parents have been asking me, oh, this is happening, what should I do? What are the signs and symptoms that a parent should look for when they think their child is sick, to see to differentiate whether they're sick or not?
So the important signs, of the most common signs that we see is a little drippy in the nose. They become a little more cranky. Maybe their sleep is not so sound. Maybe changes in appetite, or even changes in bowel movements. These are all signs that maybe treatment is needed.
Great.
So I think these are these are a lot of parents sort of feel that their child is not not as usual. So at that point, that's an important time to consider coming in or for treatment, or sometimes even some if a parent's not sure if these are important signs, they can always contact they contact us or their acupuncturist and decide with them if they need to come in. So
great. And what age children are you generally seeing in the clinic?
We see in general, I see all kinds of all ages, from newborns to teenagers. So in newborns in particular, and what we call the first cycle of life, which is from 0 to about 6, 7, 8, these are times where it is really important to pay attention to these first days of illness, because there is in this period of time what we call in Chinese medicine pathogens can easily become we call it entrapped, or they go deeper into the system and can linger in the patient for a long period of time. So it is actually it's recommended to address the issue in the first days, when you see the first changes, because then we're addressing the issue when it is superficial, when it's not going deeper into the system. And that's the importance of the timing of the treatment. So that's when, so it's important. So timing is of essence in that sense.
Are there any foods you suggest if somebody they can't get in with their acupuncturist or whatever reason? Are there any foods or treatments at home that you recommend as the parent gets their child into the clinic?
Right. So when our immune system is challenged, it is really important to eat very lightly. So when in Chinese medicine we mean by eating lightly is mostly soupy, like eating soup, whether it's chicken soup or vegetable soup, and very light food, and try to avoid sugar, of course, and milk, because milk and milk products, because that congests the system and creates more phlegm, which is a problematic when your immune system needs to function more effectively.
What do you think about echinacea?
So echinacea is a great herb. I really like it. It's just a matter of knowing to use it appropriately, since it's so effective for treating colds and flus and acute seasonal illnesses. It is overused, I think, in the West. So I use echinacea at those beginning times when we need to prevent the pathogen from going deeper. And it's just very accessible. So a lot of times, let's say a parent calls and they cannot bring their child in for whatever reason for treatment, it's easy to send them to the health food store and get some echinacea that they can start it right away to prevent that the pathogen from going deeper. In any case, echinacea is used in not more than 2 weeks, 2-week period at a time. So you cannot use echinacea constantly. It renders it less effective if you need it. And so I always recommend not to continue for more than 2 weeks at a time. And then we need a rest. I really, really like a product that's out there in the market called Echinacea by a company called Dr. Vogel, they're based in Europe. And it's a very, very high quality. It comes in these chewable pills so that some kids can actually chew them. It's a very effective product. Although generally speaking, you can use echinacea. There's many child or infant echinacea products that you could get in a health food store.
Right, like the tinctures and might be pretty easy to.
Tinctures or glycerin extracts, which make it a little more sweet and not as strong tasting.
You mentioned propolis the other day in the clinic. Could you talk more about that?
Yes, propolis is a beehive product. It is also great for treating viral and bacterial infections, but it has an affinity to the mouth. And so when there's an like the one we were discussing at the beginning, the mouth and hand disease, then really bring some relief to the painful sores that are in the mouth. So it comes in a spray, and again, there's a product I really like by a company called YSB Farms, or Echo Bee Farms, and they have an propolis and that that you spray in the mouth, and it helps to both treat the viral or bacterial infection, and also soothe the pain that usually is the biggest issue. There is, again, many properties. One of them is by a company called Herb Farm, but the YSB Echo Bee Farms creates I think a more palatable product. So again, just to sum it up, propolis is a wonderful product to think of, especially when you have infections of the mouth, like tonsillitis, achy throat, or different sores, even cold sores, stomatitis, and other infections of any infection of the mouth.